Yo, what's up everyone and welcome back. So in today's video I finally want to finish the advanced Steve Fox tutorial, which I planned doing ages ago actually. So yeah, I finally found some time to cover some more things with Steve, and I hope you all know some basic stuff with Steve, like maybe you already played him or watched a basic tutorial for him, because I'm not gonna cover just the basic stuff but more advanced stuff, so you can actually play him better in games, use more opportunities, and his stance is better overall. This is actually what I'm planning to do. So in this video I basically want to cover, first of all, as a refreshment, the backbone of Steve's moves, so you guys know which moves you have to know in and out, and why these moves are so good. Then I wanted to cover more about the stances, which I think I didn't quite did well enough in my basic tutorial, and also some more Oki setups. That's the word. So yeah, I hope you guys will learn something from this video, and if you like it, just let me know. And also if you want to know some other tutorials, maybe like, I don't know, ideas on how to improve your defense or throw breaking maybe, so just let me know. Alright, but now let's get started with our favorite boxer, Steve Fox. Okay, so let's cover Steve's backbone game for now. These are, in my opinion, the three moves I think are the most reliable and easiest to access from. So yeah, you just can rely on them in every situation, and you should know why these moves are good and so on. And don't get me wrong, Steve has still a shit ton of more good moves, but I just wanted to cover these three moves you should always know and be familiar with, so you can use them all the time and know why they are so good, as I said. So at first I wanted to start with his jab string 1-2-1-2 into his ducking cancel to make the move safe. And the reason why I think this is an absolute key move and absolute important move is because you are in the full control of the string the whole time. So for example, you can just do like the first 3 hits, for example, and then maybe duck in or go into peekaboo, or maybe do some other stances or cancel for them. And another big thing why this move is so important is that the tracking of his third jab is actually pretty damn good. So for example, if you just need some time or you don't know exactly how to get in, you can always start with, for example, 1-1, 1-1-2 and cancel it, and have a relatively safe option to get into the opponent, and you're at close range to apply some other mix-ups, for example. So yeah, just experiment more with the string, in my opinion. Know that you can cancel the move if you want to in peekaboo, like after the third hit, or with other stances like a stuck in, for example, and that you actually have a safe mid option at the end of the string, so the opponent can't really duck the string. It's actually pretty difficult for him to launch punish it, but it's doable for the opponent. So yeah, you still have to use it wisely and can't just throw it out like crazy. This would be really bad. But yeah, make sure that you experiment enough with the jab string and know that the third hit tracks really damn good to both sides, and you have a safe mid option. It's really important. It's always a move you can use if you want to buy some time or just don't know how to get in. And the second move I think is essential. Of course, I also covered it in my basic tutorial. His best move in my opinion, back one. So yeah, this is just a quick reminder how to use this move again, and yeah, make sure that you always flicker cancel the move and practice it properly so you can get out of it very quickly, so to shorten the time where you actually duck, so you have a really good, fast and safe counter hit tool. And also what I learned these past few months actually, that it's pretty damn hard to counter hit moves that are out of a running motion or out of a wave dash motion. For example, electric I think is pretty damn hard to counter hit with a back one, because the timing is pretty strange in my opinion. So I wouldn't really recommend to try to counter hit a wave dashing Mishima, for example, or for example a Dragunov who can use his running 2 very good and unpredictably. So most of the time it's not really worth it to throw in a back one when the opponent wants to do an electric, because most of the time you get launched. So you have to be very careful with it. But however, just like every other moves, it's always a good opinion to throw in a back one, for example, if you feel that the opponent wants to come in or something. So yeah, always make sure to use back one and to know when to use it. It's very important. And the last move on my list actually is quadricycle forward 1. I actually didn't use this move quite a lot the past few months, and I started to use it more and more, and I just realized how damn good it is. Because of the insane range, it's completely safe, the tracking is decent enough, and yeah, it's a safe wall spread option. So basically what I want to say is practice the input for the quadricycle forward 1, because for Steve it's a little bit harder to do than, for example, the death fist. Because you actually have to input the 1 while you press the forward after the quadricycle forward. This is the first thing most people seem to have trouble with. Even I had trouble with it a long time ago. So practice this move like crazy so you can use it all the time whenever you want. It's very important. And also make sure to hold back after it so you can go into flicker to make it safe. And yeah, then it's just a crazy good move. So yeah, these are, in my opinion, the 3 super duper important moves for Steve that you can always rely on. They are always useful in in nearly nearly every situation. So yeah, practice them, know how to use them, and you always have something to do if you just don't know what to do right now. Okay, so now that we covered Steve's backbone, we can finally go into some more advanced stuff. And in this part I want to talk about his peekaboo stance again and his flicker stance. And the main thing I want to show you guys is that you can access the stances manually very fast, and also the moves out of it relatively fast. So for example, if you want to do a peekaboo down for 2, as you saw there, the opponent can't really see that I did go into the peekaboo, and now that we know this, we can actually use way more moves out of just his normal standing, for example, without going into peekaboo, for example, from a forward to 1 or a 2-1. And the reason why this is so good to go manually into the stance and input the move very fast is that you will get predictable if you only use his peekaboo stance from other moves to go into. So as I said, for example, forward to 1 into peekaboo or 2-1 into peekaboo. These are actually some signal moves where the opponent realizes that he has to backdash, and he can get away from your pressure from peekaboo. So you have to do this. You have to actually go into the stances manually to not let the opponent backdash that easily. So he can't predict when you are going to peekaboo, for example. So practice it. Practice it a lot so you can use this tool all the time and whenever you want to. So you can also have access to his best low poke, in my opinion, the peekaboo down 1. It's really good to have. You have other mid tools that you can use to poke the opponent. You have finally a quick launcher for Steve, because the down forward 2 from peekaboo is 16 frame fast and has pretty good range and is tech bufferable. So yeah, you have now a good launching opportunity and possibility. So definitely practice the transition into the peekaboo stance, and you have a way better time to open up the opponent, because if you only do the basic stuff, you're gonna have a hard time to deal some damage, because down 1 on itself just won't do enough to make the opponent duck, for example, or do or to inflict serious damage. So yeah. Know the moves out of Peekaboo, know that you can transition into it fast and use the moves very fast. And the same thing goes with the flicker stance, of course. But you can use it a little bit more different, because the flicker stance, in my opinion, offers you more of a counter hit variety, in my opinion, because the moves out of it, for example, the flicker back jabs, these are pretty fast, and on counter hit, the back one, down one gives you this knockdown and guaranteed follow up. So 62 damage out of a counter hit is pretty damn good. And so now you have more opportunities and possibilities to not just only use back one, for example, but also to use as a quickly transition to flicker stance into his flicker jabs to go for some other counter and stuff. And also what I want to mention is that I actually realized that the opponent kinda wants to duck the flicker stance, because most of the moves are high. His flicker jabs, of course, the flicker back one, down one, this good one. And yeah, this is the reason why the opponent wants to duck, because they are high and want to launch you. So never ever forget that you have some mid tools out of a flicker stance. Like for example, the flicker 2 is really good, safe mid move. And you can also counter fish for flicker back one into forward one, for example. This is also a safe mid move. So you can get some extra damage into your opponent. Okay, so yeah, that's basically the whole thing that I wanted to mention. And you really have to realize that you have to go into the stances manually and input the moves very fast to be way more unpredictable that you can ever be with going into the stances by accessing from other moves, if you know what I mean. So yeah, this basically means that we have a way higher move list out of every situation. So yeah, practice with stances like crazy, that you don't mess up like you saw there, that you get an Alcatraz spin if I actually want to do a Peekaboo down for a 2, for example. Do practice these moves, you will have a way easier time then to play with Steve and get way more success. So yeah, that's about it. Alright, let's cover some Oki situations with Steve. So when we finally hit the opponent, we can maximize the damage after it. So I'm gonna talk about like 2 Oki situations from a combo or a normal hit like this, and some pretty neat wall Okis. So I think the first one and the main one with Steve Oki situation is when the opponent lies with the belly down and the head towards you. For example, after get hit by a forward 4-2. This is the time where you have a pretty good time and can do some pickups against the opponent or go for a massive low hit to get more damage into it. So the basic stuff after forward 4-2 is actually run into the opponent, do a dick jab, and there you can already see the opponent already got picked up, and we can follow up with a combo. I personally like to do this one, if I can land it, of course. So you basically have to dash in, down forward 1-2, and you get a pretty nice combo out of it. Pretty good damage after the hit. And after the dick jab you can follow up with several other moves. The basic one is after the dick jab a wide standing one. And if a wide standing one also didn't pick up your opponent, you can do a down forward 1, for example. So you have 3 times in good OQ situation when the opponent wants to stand up right away. So basically you do this, this and this. Once more. Dick jab, wide standing 1, down forward 1. 3 times you have a really good OQ situation to pick up the opponent. And if your opponent still lays down there, you can either go for down forward 2, pretty easy damage like usual, or also Peekaboo down 2, for example. Does 2 more damage. It's also pretty good. And if you're concerned about that his moves could be a little bit too slow, you can also go for full crouch down forward 1, or just the down 1+2, for example, for the low. So, but the main thing that you want to do is dash in, dig jab, while standing 1, down forward 1, and pay attention when the opponent floats, so you can make the combo after it. So the next one I want to talk about is after, for example, a combo. I'm doing now a relatively easy one. And after the opponent gets hit by the Tekken 1, so he's with belly down but heads not towards you. So what I personally like to do is Alcatraz spin, double Alcatraz spin, and then mix up the opponent with either the mid or the low. It's a pretty nice Oki situation and a cool 50-50 for the opponent, especially because the Tekken 1 has a good it's good to wall carry the opponent. So it's most of the time you get him close to the wall, and then this Alcatraz mix up is pretty neat. So he either has to go a really annoying low with a really annoying knockdown, or he gets a wall split. So this is why I personally like to do the Alcatraz spins. Like short dash and then do the mix up. I like this pretty much. Other thing that you could do is, for example, dash in and down to 1-2. It's also pretty nice if your opponent wants to stand up right away. Pretty neat. And again, if your opponent just lays down there and don't want to do anything, go for a down forward 2, for example. It's also pretty good. So yeah, these are basically the two Oki situations from a combo or from a hit, open ground. And now I want to cover some wall Oki, especially tech crash setups, because Steve has a really efficient one. So let me change it, position, wall hit, alright. So, for example, when you finish with the sway 1-1, this move, Steve has really good recovery, and you can bait the tech crash or go for a good positioning on the wall so you can keep up the pressure. And to bait the tech crash, you actually have to input sway to the left. I think it's the best. On the left side, or from the other side is sway to the right. So you always can mix up the opponent and bait the tech crash correctly. And then I'm gonna show you real quick. This is what happens. You sway to avoid the attack crash, then you have to press back so you can duck into the opponent and then do the launcher. And now you can either do a normal back turn combo, like you used to know it, or what's really cool and I learned from Just Jordan is this one. And the opponent is next to the wall again. So what I did there is, after the Tekken 2 connected, I input the forward 2, and then Steve automatically realigned himself, and you can do the wall carry with down 2, 1, 2. So I'm gonna show it once more. So like this. This is pretty amazing stuff, because the opponent is right next to the wall again, and he didn't even get away from the wall, even if he did tech crash, and let's say he just ate a normal launcher. So keep that in mind, that you can carry the opponent back to the wall with Steve. Pretty neat. So this is just really cool stuff. Keep that in mind, use this against the opponent, so you have constant wall pressure where Steve really shines, and yeah, the opponent just can't catch a break if you finally get him to the wall. So yeah, keep those three options in mind. Steve has some pretty nice Oki situations, and also what I didn't mention, if we don't tech crash, you just overall in a really good position. Whoops, missed the combo there. So if he didn't tech crash, you for example can go into a quick back sway and then maybe a back one, because this move is pretty good on block. Or just go for the throw attempt with 1+2. Whoops. Because the 1 or 2 is guaranteed. So you have some pretty nice Oki tools at the wall and on open ground. Okay. Let's sum up this tutorial with some more general advice and tips from my side on how to play Steve. And you may already have seen and recognized that Steve is a very complex and hard to play character due to the fact that he has a high amount of moves and stances. So one of my advice is that you first of all shouldn't like divide his moves in stances and not stances, because all these moves have to be accessible whenever you want, and not by, for example, as I already mentioned, to go into Peekaboo, don't always use like a 4-1 or 2-1 into Peekaboo. Just go into them manually so you can access them very quickly and you have a wider moveset to pressure the opponent with. So all his stances and non-stances have to be like linked together so it goes in fluently, and don't even think of dividing them like into stances and non-stances. So this will hinder yourself in playing Steve. Always keep that in mind, that you can access every move whenever you want all the time, and you don't have to go into a stance like after another move, which is one advice I should give you. And I think it's important. This is also a thing I learned this past few months, because I just played him very basically and never really accessed the moves from manually, and I really struggled a lot. And now that I use it more and more like this, I have more success winning games with Steve. Okay, and another thing is you actually have to be very unpredictable with Steve and don't fall into any flowcharts. It's very easy to get into some flowcharts with Steve. For example, in the last few streams I catched myself on doing like Peekaboo down 1, 1, 2 into 2. I did this like all the time, and at some point the opponent punished me like crazy. And then I recognized, oh shit, don't do this all the time. I fall into a flowchart which is not good, and just try to avoid them as much as possible. Don't let the ranked syndrome affect you, like you have to win this one match and then you have to never fight the opponent again. Because sometimes you will meet them again, they will remember you and then will kill you right away because they know all your stuff. So all the time use different moves, don't always use the same combination of moves. This is very important with Steve, and be unpredictable. And also with being unpredictable, I mean you have to vary your timing on certain moves. One big example is, for example, I told you that for his running 2 into a down back 3-2, for example, on block, is a nice mix-up. The problem with it is if the opponent, blocks it and you input the move right away, it's 50-50 on whether you die or you get the hit. So what you should do is, for example, when the opponent respects you enough that he doesn't press any buttons after blocked the while running 2, just dash into him a little bit and then maybe access and input the down back 3-2. So you get unpredictable, and most of the time I saw that the opponent actually ducked after blocked the down back 2, and then I just dashed in, varied my timing a little bit, and then could successfully input the down back 3-2. And this is not only for Steve but for all other characters as well in the game. Vary your timing, don't fall into flowcharts, be very unpredictable. Just some general advice, not only for Steve but for all characters. So, and always be creative, watch other people playing Steve. We have some good European players who play Steve, like Just Sedan, for example, or Nurajin, if you can sometimes see him. And also what's one of the best players, of course, Nin or Bohi. Two Korean players, you can always watch and learn some stuff from them. It's really cool. And so have fun with Steve, be creative using his moves, know that you have to use all his moves fluently and you can access them every time whenever you want. Don't let hinder you by the stances. You can always access them very quickly and input the moves, and you will overall have a way better time to play with Steve, to pressure the opponent, and yeah, so you can finally have way more success than ever. Alright, this is it for my advanced tutorial. Maybe I could, maybe I will do another one in like several months, cause yeah, I quite didn't master Steve yet. There's so much more things that I also have to learn, and yeah. This is it for me. I hope you learned something, and again, if you liked it, let me know, and if you want to see some other videos, as I mentioned before, maybe improving your defense or something else. Yeah, thanks for watching everyone, and I hope you learned something. See ya!